Hello class. I'm going to try to make a video here. I don't know if it's going to work, and I don't know if you're going to be able to hear me. It's a little background noise, but I think it'll work. I think the microphone will pick me up. So let's just go over how to, make a snake. Make a snake. Let's do that. So first thing I'm going to do for us is I'm going to just create a new folder, new Java project folder kind of thing. I'm going to call this snake development. How about develop 2023? Okay. Don't create. I don't want any modules. I don't want any stinking modules.
It does have a double meaning. It means
It does have a double meaning. I knew it.
It is fate. It is destiny.
It is written. It is written. I mean, that's what it sounds like. It's written. It's written. But where's it come from?
I have no clue.
Okay. Very good. Okay. So one thing that I've kind of started doing more recently is like when I create a new project is I'll go to that utility package that we used in our old project and I'll just copy it. I'll just go copy, and then when I come into my new project, my new source folder here, I just paste it. I paste it into the source folder, and oh wait, some modifiers from the save before this. Oh whatever. And I think I just get the utilities, right? Yeah, perfect. And one of the things I did with utilities already here is I changed max window x to be 1200, so the width is 1200, the height is 800, and I made the title of the frame snake. Okay. So where am I? I'm here in this package or folder. It's called the source folder. So I'm going to go new package. I'm going to call the package snake. Snake. All right. So the first thing I did is I just made a class called tile. And again, I'm just trying to create this board layout. Ultimately, the snake body will actually be tile objects as well. So let's create a new class and call it tile. Tile is going to extend rectangle. And so I thought about what attributes I wanted to have. And really, right now, really, the main things right now I'm going to say are row and column. Because I'm going to try to make it ultimately a two-dimensional array. So I want each tile to know where it is in that two-dimensional array. I felt like that kind of helped things along or made my code a little cleaner at the end of the day. I'm going to create a constructor, right, for tile. It's going to take two arguments, an x and y location. And then I'm going to call the four-argument constructor of the rectangle class, and I'm going to say go ahead and put my create my rectangle in this xy location, and I'm going to say make it 20 by 20. Let us make the color. So I'll go and give myself a color attribute too. And we'll make color be white to start with, and we'll clear up our error messages. Import rectangle. Colors, okay. Okay, I did make a draw method for tile. I just feel like this adds a nice amount of abstraction later on. So it takes a graphics 2D object. So pv.color is going to be the color of the tile. And then I'm going to ask it to draw the shape, which is itself. Set colors. How do you like that? Okay. So really not very complicated, right? I'm just creating this object, which is, basically a rectangle, and it's a square. I got a little constructor for it. I'm making the color be white, making a little draw method. Okay. Now, where it gets a little interesting is I want to create a board. Okay, so I created a class called board. Oh, by the way, before we do that, let us also create the actual game itself. So I just call this thing game. And this is going to have the main method, right? And so one thing we want to do here is extend GDB5. And that'll make us add the unimplemented methods, which are update and draw, right? And update is happening 60 frames per second, remember, and draw is happening as fast as our processor speed is. It could be like approximately 3,000 frames per second. Okay. And so what do we do in the main method? Well, we make a GDB5 object, right? So we'll say something like game g equals new game, and then we go g.start. And that's enough to get the ball rolling, and we should see a window there, a window that looks like this, and it's titled Snake, and the width is 1200, and the height is 800, okay? So what I want to do is I want to create a board, and I want to place these tiles all over the board, okay? And I want to see that they're there. I want to see that they're there. So let's go back to this board class. This board class is going to have one attribute, and I'm gonna make it public just because, or we'll make it protected or whatever. But I want the whole package to be able to see this. So it's gonna be a static field called board, which is a tile array. Tile array. So I say tile. What do I do? Tile. I say static first. Tile array board. What do you think of that? What do you think of that? All right, like it or love it. Like it or love it. Okay. So I got a tile array called board. Tile array called board. Now originally I made a constructor, but then it forced me to create a board object, and the whole point of the board object was just creating the constructor. And I'm never really referencing the board object. I'm always referencing like the board that belongs to the board class, you know, and I kind of feel like that's a better way to think of it. So anyways, ended up making a method called make board, and this guy here is going to have to basically put stuff in the board. Oh, by the way, I actually want this to be a two-dimensional array, row by column, okay? So I had to think about this, right? Row by column. So how many rows are we going to have? I guess we could do something like this here in rows. So the rows is going to be 40 rows, okay? And that comes from the fact that rows is actually going to be dictated, the number of rows we have is actually going to be dictated by height, right? Because the rows are going to stack on themselves like this, right? Well, the number of columns is going to be dictated by width, because columns kind of, you know, go side by side as far as you can go this way. So that is going to be 60. Okay, does that make sense? Because 1,200 divided by 20 is 60. 800 divided by 20 is 40. So that's, I'm getting the number of rows and columns. Okay. So once I have this, I'm ready to initialize this array and say I know how big I want it to be. I want it to be 40 by 60. Okay. What do you think of them apples? What do you think of them apples? All right, now I got to put stuff in here. Specifically, I got to put tile objects in here. So question. So I forget how I did this because it's a little backward sometimes, but I actually think I want to go like this for int. I'm going to say I equals 0. I is less than the number of columns, believe it or not. And then columns, does it really matter? I don't know if it really matters. Let's say rows. Let's try to say rows then. And then say I++, okay? And then here I'm going to say for int j is less than number of columns, and j++. Okay. All right, let's say j. How about that? How about that? Okay, so let's think about this. So then I'm going to say board index I, index j. Okay. Well, I is going to be the row, j is going to be the column. Okay, I is going to be the row, j is going to be the column. Okay. So I want to put a So I want to put a new tile object in there. And I need to give this tile object an XY attribute, which is going to be its location. Okay. And so I know in the very first row, I always want the first value to be 0. So I feel like if I say I times 20, that's legit, because that's going to be 0 the whole way through the first time. We're talking about the 0 row, right? And then, oh no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of X location, right? X location. No, I'm not thinking row column here. I'm thinking XY location, right? So I want the X location to be changing, actually, don't I? Right? Because I want it to be 0, then 20, then 40, then 60, then 80. So I want that X location to be changing. What if I put J here? How's that going to work? Again, this is going to be like 0 to 59 inclusive. So it's going to go, 0, and then 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5. I actually like that. I think that's good. I think that's going to give me the changing X values that I want, right? And then the Y value on that first row, I do want it to be 0 the whole time, okay? So this one, I'm actually going to say is I times 20 also, right? And let's see if that will continue to kind of work as we go through this whole thing. So I really like what's happening with this. I really like what's happening with X, because I feel like the next time we go through this loop, it's going to start at 0. It's going to go all the way to the end. The X values are going to keep changing to be what I want them to be. Are the Y values going to work the way I want them to? Okay, well, the next row that we establish, I is going to be 1, so all those Y values will be 20. Well, that seems pretty good. It seems like it's going to be on the next level, right? And then the next time through, it'll be 2, then it'll be 40, and 3, and it'll be 60. That seems like it's going to work as I would like it to work, right? That's looking pretty good to me. So let's make one more method here, and we'll call it drawBoard. And I'm basically just going to call the draw method for each tile on the board. So first of all, I'm going to say for each tile row that I have in the overall board array, and then I'm going to say for each tile in the row, right? Then let us draw the tile. But problem. We need a graphics to the object, don't we? So let's go graphics to the object, okay? How do you like those apples? They don't like those apples. Import graphics to the, how about that? Okay, so I wrote a draw method, I wrote a make board method, I didn't put any parentheses here. Okay, so I don't know if this makes sense what I've got so far. Okay, I have a board class. It has one attribute, which is a two-dimensional array called board. It belongs to the static. It belongs to the class. I have a method which makes the board. I have a method which draws the board. Okay, so let's go to our game here, and what we're going to do now. So I was debugging a program the other day, and I didn't realize someone had this make board idea in the update method, and that was constantly refreshing. So you gotta think about where we want to do this and when we want this to happen, right? Basically, we only want to do it one time. We only want to do it one time before we start things. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say board.makeBoard. Why is it not? Did I not make that method static? I don't think I did. Let's go back and do this again. This should be a static method, right? Because it's the class that's calling it. again, my thinking behind this design was it's not like I need a board object per se. I just need the class to hold this board for me, right? So anyways, that is static, and so now I'm saying board.makeBoard. So on line 11, I'm just going to do it once, and then I'm going to create my game object, and then I'm going to run my game, right? And then down here in draw, I just want to go board dot draw board. Oh, I did make it static either. Okay, but I want to make that static as well, right? I'm dealing with the class, not objects of the class. So let us say static here as well. Okay. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What's going to happen here? I hope this is going to work.
Basically, what you're doing is
Error message. Yes. Unresolved type board is not the method drop board. And the type board is not applicable. Post static board, draw board, graphics listening errors. Static make board, tile again. Board dot draw board. Oh, it requires a graphics 2D argument. Aha. So I got to put win in there, win for us. For the win. All right, so let's run this thing now. And wow, amazingly enough, I have this board which is all drawn out. Okay. So if anybody watched my other video, you realize it was way more confusing and took a lot longer to get to this stage. Okay. So good news is I have this, right? And then the question is, well, what are we going to do with this, right? What are we going to do with this idea? And I think one thing that's really cool and really revealing before I kind of show you how I made the snake is to just go to this board, draw a board idea and say, well, how can I fill in one of those spots on the board? And so to do that, what if we made our color be something like blue or red or something like that, right? And then tried to fill in a specific spot, okay? So that would look like pd.fill, and let's fill a specific spot on the board. So what if we say I want to fill the spot in the, say, I don't know, 15th row and 5th column, right? And so that should be kind of down a bit and a little bit indented from the left, right? And what, I got to put color now or something like that? Okay. And when I run that, you see I do get a filled in spot on the board, right? So to me, that's kind of the magic. The board is creating this way that we can reference locations and ultimately, draw things on them, right? Place things in different locations and stuff like that. So yeah, and now we can do it. And I think before, the way I read it before, I was constantly referencing the XY location of the tiles. And so I constantly had to iterate through all the tiles and compare the XY location of the tile versus the XY location of the snake or items in the snake. And I felt like that was a lot jankier and just it's more confusing, I think, to read, but it's also, I think, a little harder. It's a little harder on the processor. I'm asking the program to do a lot more than I probably need to ask it to do, right? So I kind of leave you with that on the first video and let you think about how you can maybe use that going forward. All right. Please tell me I was recording that.